Emmanuel Macron recently said, "We need to strengthen our friendship with Captain Ibrahim Traore, president of Burkina Faso, as we convince him to allow our military bases in his country." Ibrahim Traore didn't hesitate to put him in his place. He responded, "But you're already friends with the USA, Britain, Brazil, and Canada. Do you have any military bases in those countries?" Macron had no answer. Burkina Faso, under Traore, has been taking a strong stance against Western military influence, pushing for true sovereignty. France's long history of military presence in Africa is being challenged, and leaders like Traore are making it clear they will not be pressured into foreign military agreements.
Captain Ibrahim Traore has just responded. You see, some 2 days ago, Captain Ibrahim Traore, there were some allegations that he was to be arrested. Why was Captain Ibrahim Traore to be arrested? They suggested Captain Ibrahim Traore was to be arrested because they thought that Captain Ibrahim Traore is using some of the gold reserves in Burkina Faso to retain himself in power. You see, these were all false allegations, and due to that, he was forced to respond. He said that he's not going to bow down to any Western country. If they want to take out people of Burkina Faso, then they'll have to first reach him in order to reach the people of Burkina Faso. He's not going to let any Western leader to take control over his country. He's the president and is going to control his people the way he had said earlier. Now, you see, these are all allegations that were just made towards Ibrahim Traore in order to tarnish Ibrahim Traore's name. Now, do people agree that Ibrahim Traore should stand firm to his...
Welcome back to my YouTube channel once more. Timothy's Reaction is my name. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, like, share and comment. Hope you have watched this video. It's about Ibrahim Traore sending a warning message to this Macron and also United States about his assassination attempt. Let's watch this video until the end and then I'll come back with more comment.
It's simple. We denounce the agreements. Everything starts from there. I think the example of Chad in any case is tangible. They started by denouncing the agreements. Otherwise, if we don't denounce the agreements, just saying that
whether you're a Democrat or not, how can you impose democracy by killing millions of people? It's a dictatorship, not democracy. You can't impose it. Those who call themselves Democrats have seen scenes where people were prevented from joining assemblies. We've seen scenes where forces landed in assemblies to force deputies to take texts. We've seen more terrible scenes where people kill their demonstrators. But they call themselves Democrats, and we're called Persians. If that's democracy, I repeat, we don't want this democracy. And when you see incompetence, they don't seek to know what the real meaning of the word democracy is. They cling to the definition given to them by imperialism and start talking about democracy without really knowing the basics. That's incompetence. You have to know, look at the world to redefine democracy as we want it in Africa. Incompetence hides behind freedom. Remember, there is no individual freedom. It's a fact.
Bonjour à tous.
Hello, everyone. I would like to welcome all the young people from the 13 regions who are in the room and those who have not been able to access the room. To all the young people from Africa, to accompany the youth, welcome to the land of integral men. I would like to pay a vibrant tribute to our strong security and defense forces who fight day and night for Burkina Faso to be and remain beautiful. I would like us to take a minute to pray for those who are on the ground and also for the rest of the souls of those who have fallen for our country.
Je vous remercie.
Thank you.
Rendons grâce à Dieu qui a permis
Thank
que nous nous
you. Let us
retrouvions
give
ici
thanks to God for
aujourd'hui
allowing
en
us to
de
be
la
here today
célébration de la
to
Journée
celebrate the International
internationale de la
Youth Day in good
jeunesse en bonne
health.
santé. Je le dis très souvent parce que
I say this very
l'être
often
humain
because human
oublie
beings
souvent
often
Dieu
forget God when they have
lorsqu'il
no
n'a pas de
problem,
problème, lorsqu'il est dans le bonheur.
when they are
Quand
in
viennent les
happiness.
soucis, c'est là qu'on se rappelle de Dieu.
But when worries come,
Rendez grâce tous les jours pour le
this is
souffle
when
de
we
vie et
remember
pour la
God.
santé.
Give thanks every day for the breath of life and for health. Youth,
Jeunesse du Burkina,
youth from
jeunesse
Burkina
d'Afrique.
Faso,
La jeunesse,
youth
cette
from
phase de la
Africa,
vie,
youth, this phase of life where we have enough strength,
d'énergie,
enough energy, like the paraphrase, the slammer that has just passed.
la jeunesse.
Youth is the time when we have spent enough time.
Nous devons profiter du temps qui nous est donné
We must take advantage of the time we have been given,
pour atteindre nos objectifs, pour changer
use the energy necessary to reach our goals,
changer le monde des autres positivement.
to change the world, to change our world, to change the world of others positively.
Les enfants souhaitent grandir pour être jeunes.
Children want to grow up to be young.
Tout le monde veut être jeune.
Older people want to grow up to be young.
Jeunesse,
Everyone wants to be young. Youth is a blessing.
alors profitez de la jeunesse pour faire œuvre utile.
So take advantage of youth to do useful
Voilà
work.
pourquoi quand je vois dans le thème choisi,
This is why when I see in the chosen theme, the first two words that come to mind,
intégration,
integration,
sécurité.
security.
L'Afrique fait face à de nombreux défis
Africa faces many challenges,
et on doit se poser des questions.
and we must ask
La
ourselves
jeunesse est-elle
questions.
un atout ou un handicap pour le développement des nations?
Is youth an asset or a handicap for the development of nations?
Et vous la savez. Les pays
The
développés
answer is simple and unequivocal, and you know it.
pour la plupart
Developed countries mostly have an aging population, and currently many countries have launched programs to rejuvenate their populations.
L'Afrique a cette chance d'avoir.
Africa has this chance to have a very young population,
Mais pourquoi l'Afrique n'est-elle pas développée?
but why is Africa not developed?
Nous devrions donc nous pencher sur la question de comprendre pourquoi l'Afrique
We must therefore look at the question of why Africa has a young population and why it is not developed, and why developed countries seek to rejuvenate their populations.
Il faut que nous arrivions donc à transformer notre jeunesse en un véritable atout et un moteur.
We must transform our youth into a real asset and engine of development for our continent.
Pour ce faire, nous avons
To do this,
besoin
we need integration.
d'intégration. Nous avons besoin de sécurité.
We need security and development. We need to unite.
Certes, vous entendrez parler de
You
l'Union.
will hear about the African Union.
Oui, elle existe. Mais quelle
Yes, it exists, but what is the effect of the African Union?
Nous ne pourrons pas parler d'intégration dans le thème.
We cannot talk about integration and not talk about the African Union,
Cette organisation qui devrait nous unir.
because it is this organization that should unite us,
Mais nous sommes au
create
regret
real
de
integration.
voir ces guerres qui persistent sur le continent africain.
But we regret to see this war that persists on the African continent, that kills millions of young people,
Et à la tête d'États pourvus d'armées.
and that this organization, which has the head of state provided with an army, cannot organize itself to support certain countries.
L'union n'est pas juste un mot.
The union is not just a word, the union is a symbol.
Et nous jeunes devrions apprendre le
And we young people should learn from this situation
pour faire de l'intégration une réalité.
to unite us to make integration a reality.
Désagréablement surpris lorsque l'Éthiopie, qui abrite donc
I was unpleasantly surprised when Ethiopia, which is the seat of the African Union,
et quand j'ai vu le Premier ministre se mettre en treillis,
experienced a conflict, and when the Prime Minister announced to close the university in Addis Ababa to face the threat,
l'action de l'Union africaine.
I did not see the action of the African Union to protect this seat.
Occidentaux pour la plupart
Western states, for the most part, saw Addis Ababa fall, fold their backpacks, and leave. Ethiopia fought, found an internal solution, and lives more or less in peace today. The children of Congo have been dying for years. Several other conflicts, such as in Sudan, exist on the continent. We would have liked to see the African Union generate the strength and all the strategies necessary to support its states so that they can find peace. We will not even talk about us here in the Sahel. For nearly 10 years, the Sahel has been the scene of international terrorism. But we see no support from these organizations to find a solution to this problem. Worse, a few days ago, a foreign country in Africa openly announced that it had supported and participated in a cowardly, terrorist, and barbaric attack against the forces of our confederation. The African Union did not say a word to condemn this interference. The African Union did not say a word to condemn this interference of a foreign state in Africa in the internal affairs of our states. I would like them to hear this shout and get out of their silence and take action so that the youth can believe in the African Union. We must unite. The only way to unite is to talk to each other, to understand each other, and to be able to establish the basis of this unity. Young people, let me tell you that to unite, there are three words, three big screws that we must ban from our behavior and our lives. I am talking about cowardice, treachery, and incompetence. We must ban these three words from our way of life. I am going to explain why. Cowardice covers many screws. A coward is always afraid. And when we are afraid, we become slaves. We bend. We lick our boots. Our ancestors were not cowardly. And if we are cowardly, our children will ask us questions. Imagine that in Burkina Faso we refuse to fight and we accept to submit, to live in slavery. Tomorrow our children will grow up and they will ask themselves questions. Have our parents been cowardly to leave us in slavery? Whether we are alive or dead, we will feel it. Cowardice is afraid, and the imperialists have understood that they are trying to scare the leaders so that they become cowards. Because when you are a coward, all the other screws can be born. We do everything so that we are afraid. They come to our palaces. They threaten us directly or with veiled threats. Of course, we respond as it is necessary. They try to make us understand. They take examples every time. They tell us, you know, Thomas Sankara tried to do this, but he is dead. President Haitian tried to do this, but he is dead. Gaddafi tried to do this, but he is dead. These are words that we take in a veiled way to scare us. And we often see some young people trying to take our path in a different way. We can hear them say, such and such person ruled like this, he is in his country. Such and such person ruled like this, he is in prison.
Mais je pense qu'ils n'ont pas compris quelque chose.
All this to try to scare us so that we become cowards.
Nous vaincrons. Ce n'est pas qu'une phrase.
But I think they didn't understand one thing. When we say country or death, we
Ce n'est pas
win.
qu'une phrase. Ça a tout son sens.
It's not just a sentence. It's not just a sentence. It all makes sense. We are not afraid and we will never be afraid.
Ils ont fait peur, sûrement, à beaucoup de chefs d'État africains.
They probably scared a lot of African heads of state. They probably scared a lot of African heads of state.
Lorsqu'on a l'occasion d'être dans certaines situations à l'extérieur,
You see, often when we express ourselves or when we have the opportunity to be in certain situations abroad,
prendre soin de notre jeunesse pour pouvoir amorcer notre
we often say something to call on African heads of state to wake up and take care of our youth so that we can start our real development. So that we can start our real development.
Publiquement, à nos propos,
We are often misunderstood. Some have publicly opposed us. Some have publicly opposed us because they feel indexed. But I can assure you, youth, that when we find ourselves in the corridors,
ces mêmes chefs d'État nous disent vous êtes sur la bonne voie, c'est ce qu'il faut faire pour que l'Afrique.
these same heads of state tell us that we are on the right track and that this is what needs to be done so that Africa can rise again.
Nous leur posons des questions à savoir pourquoi vous ne
So we ask them questions like, why don't you do like us? Why don't you support us?
Certains nous disent qu'ils ne peuvent pas. Chers aînés,
Some tell us that they have the means and some tell us that they can't.
Je souhaiterais dire que les peuples africains sont les peuples les plus pacifiques.
Dear elders, African heads of state, at the end of this podium, I would like to say that African peoples are the most peaceful. That African peoples are the most peaceful. When you recognize a wrong, you have to tell the people. When you recognize a wrong, you have to tell the people. We are not afraid to come out and tell the people we are sorry. We have been compromised. We have been mistreated. We have been compromised by several things, and we ask for forgiveness, and we come back on the right path and to start working really for the independence of our states and our emancipation. And I think it is possible. If we remain in this posture of fear, we will be cowardly and history will judge us. Our children will ask questions. Our grandchildren will ask questions. We are writing history. There is no place for cowardice. If our ancestors had been cowardly, we would not be here. Do you remember? I will give you an example of the people of Bamileke and Bassa. I want to talk about the Cameroonians, the union of the population of Cameroon, which since the 1950s has started a relentless fight against the Poles, but they have been massacred. The French colonial armies, in turn, have dispatched infantry battalions, tanks, helicopters, have annihilated anti-village. The inhuman inhuman tortures have taken place during this period. You can do research on what they call the cart or the bakasima. Hundreds of thousands of people have been decimated in Africa because they dared to ask their settlers to leave their land. A civil war that lasted several years. That is to say that people dared to face the imperialists with their bare hands so that we could be here. There is no reason why we cannot face the imperialists so that our future generations can live. There are many examples throughout Africa of brave men who refused to be cowardly, who fought, who faced. Well, let us be worthy of these people. We are their descendants, and let us be worthy of them. A coward cannot be worthy. Let us not be cowards, young Africans, because a coward is always a traitor. And it goes hand in hand. They will try to frighten us so that we become cowards. And if we are cowards, we will betray. We must ban the treachery of our habits. Africans have been traitors so that the slave trade succeeds in Africa. It is because Africans have been traders that colonization has been able to sustain in Africa. Let us question history. We will see. Lumumba, Patrice Lumumba, was betrayed because he dared to hold his head. And these same beautiful televisions came to the Congo for a few bids extended to individuals in the Congo for an interview to please their population. And you were able to follow that. Lumumba bothered us. He is dead. We are happy. It is treachery. Many other heroes have fallen so that we are here today. And it is a technique of imperialism to frighten others by taking action to really create terror. It has not started today. I will give you the example of a warrior who fought, Victor Biakaboda.
Lisez, vous comprendrez. Il est issu d'une famille de chefs, pas de la chefferie.
Read it and you will understand.
Il est un enfant.
He came from a family of chiefs.
Il a fait ses études au Sénégal, je crois.
No chiefdom given by the colonizer. He was a worthy child. He studied in Senegal, I believe. He became a doctor in Guinea. And when the RDA was created, he went to the Ivory Coast region to fight against imperialists, against invaders, against the colonizer. He tried to organize the Ivorian society. Everywhere, people began to speak up. There was a general in his time, Pichu, who massacred the Ivorian population so that this spirit of freedom could never germinate. He continued his fight alongside F.A.O.R.C.U.C. Lix Ufé-Boigny. They fought. But the most violent was Victor Biakaboda. He represented a threat to the imperialists. What did he do? In addition to massacring the people who demonstrated, one night they killed him in an atrocious way next to Bois-Flancy. A few hours later, when the people of Dimbakro heard the murder, they marched, they demonstrated. They were massacred by the colonial army. History was killed. The facts are there. After his death, which scared FOC Lix Ufé-Boigny, they called him and told him, if you continue the fight, you will meet the same fate. He was afraid and he joined imperialism. He was appointed minister in France and later he came to take the reins of the Ivorian Accord. They used him to eliminate many other people who dared to raise their voices. I think Thomas Sankara is a good example. If you are afraid, you will be cowardly and you will be a traitor. Never be afraid. The fight must continue. There are many other examples around the world. And there is this phenomenon that they have also used for a long time and that they continue to use. You see, some individuals, for example, have found themselves in other countries and created a so-called parallel government to the Malian government. You have heard this story. It is a technique that has existed for a long time. I will give you the example of Ahmed Chalabi, Iraq. This math teacher, who was even in the Iraqi government, was recaptured by the imperialists, and he formed this semblance of parallel government in Iraq, in the United States. And he was used to be the sheep of sacrifice. Because it was to him that it was said that Saddam Hussein was developing weapons of mass destruction, and he did it. They used him. And this Talibi was used to kill millions of children in Iraq and destroy Iraq. And do you know what was the fate of Chalabi?
mort de
One evening after an interview, he said that he knew that the CIA was on his back.
Si vous trahissez, vous aurez des fins macabres.
A few hours later, he was found dead in his bed, dead of a heart attack. If you betray, you will have macabre endings. That's how it is. Imperialism has no friends. Imperialism uses you. And when it finishes using you, it does what it wants with you. Follow my gaze. You understand what I'm talking about. It has always been like this.
Le troisième vice.
The third vice that I invite you to leave is incompetence.
C'est l'incompétence. Je reviens encore au mot du slameur qui a marché sur.
I'm coming back to the word of the Islamist who walked on my tongue. Incompetence.
L'incompétence est un phénomène très dangereux.
You understand what I'm talking about. Incompetence is a very dangerous phenomenon that they use to destroy African society.
Reconnaissons-le. Les incompétents ont beaucoup.
In our administrations, there is a lot of incompetence. Let's recognize it. Incompetents have a lot of space next to imperialism. Because incompetence can take over the development of a country. Incompetence can lead you to doubt yourself.
Les incompétents aiment tout pour eux seuls.
Incompetents love ease. Incompetents love everything for themselves. Incompetents don't like those who are competent.
Ceux qui cherchent. Les incompétents.
They don't like those who innovate, those who seek. Incompetents are dangerous.
Lorsque vous êtes éclairé, l'incompétent ne vous aime pas.
When you are enlightened, incompetents don't like
Ne
you.
vous aime pas.
When you want to innovate, incompetents don't like you.
L'incompétent sait reconnaître celui qui est compétent et il va le
Incompetents only recognize those who are competent, and they will fight him until his last breath, because he is afraid of those who are competent. Seek knowledge. Seek knowledge and work. Work hard to be competent. Ban incompetence.
Parce que à travers les distractions
Because through distractions that we want to make us adopt,
adoptées, on devient incompétent.
we become incompetent.
Les réseaux sociaux sont les
I'll give you an example. Social networks are the places where information is published today.
s'informent à travers Internet et beaucoup de choses. Un jeune qui
People are informed through the
les
internet.
réseaux sociaux, un article sur sa ferme,
A young man who publishes an article on his farm or an agricultural project or a scientific project may not have 1,000 views.
il n'aura pas peut-être 1000 vues.
But a young man who publishes on futility has millions of views.
Ce que moi j'appelle du n'importe quoi.
As the young slammer said, we want to waste your time on futility.
Justement, comme disait
Be
le
aware.
slameur,
Let's
on peut
focus
faire
on
perdre
work
du temps
and
dans
seek
la
knowledge.
futilité.
Let's seek
Prenez
competence.
conscience. Intéressons-nous au travail.
It's good to be
Cherchons la
distracted,
connaissance.
but we must work first before being distracted. Seek knowledge, otherwise you'll waste your time doing nothing.
Avant de se distraire. Cherchez la connaissance, sinon vous perdrez du temps à ne rien faire. Et la jeunesse,
Youth is the time when you must use your time wisely.
il faut exploiter son temps à bon escient. Les impérialistes le savent.
The imperialists know this.
Ils vont multiplier tout ce qui est événement de distraction. Ils vont multiplier tout ce qui est
That's why they multiply all events of distraction.
travail. Pour que vous soyez des incompétents.
They multiply all events that can distract you from work so that you become incompetent. When you fall asleep, you choose the incompetent to lead the important structures. You have no choice but to fold. Let's not be incompetent. Let's seek knowledge.
Les incompétents se cachent souvent derrière des mots.
Incompetents often hide behind words. They use the terms democracy and freedom without realizing what they mean.
Camarades, la démocratie est un état
Democracy is a state of mind as much as youth is a state of mind.
Ces soi-disant démocrates,
Whether you're a Democrat or not,
comment est-ce qu'on peut
how can you impose democracy by killing millions of people?
C'est de la dictature, ça, ce n'est pas de la démocratie. Ça ne
It's a
s'impose pas.
dictatorship, not democracy. You can't impose it.
Ceux-là qui se disent démocrates, mais regardez, nous avons
Those who call themselves Democrats have seen scenes where people were prevented from joining assemblies. We've seen scenes where forces landed in assemblies to force deputies to take texts.
Plus terrible que ça.
We've seen more terrible scenes where people kill their demonstrators. But they call themselves Democrats, and we're called Persians.
Si c'est ça la démocratie, je répète.
If that's democracy, I repeat, we don't want this democracy.
Et quand vous voyez souvent les incompétents,
And when you see
ils ne
incompetence,
cherchent pas à savoir quelle est la signification.
they don't seek to know what the real meaning of the word democracy is.
À la définition qui lui a donné l'impérialisme, et il se met.
They cling to the definition given to them by imperialism and start talking about democracy without really knowing the basics. That's incompetence.
Regardez le monde pour redéfinir la démocratie.
You have to know, look at the world to redefine democracy as we want it in Africa.
Les incompétents se cachent derrière les libertés.
Incompetence hides behind freedom. Remember, there is no individual freedom. It's a fact.
C'est un fait.
Do you really think everyone is free? Freedom is collective. As long as we live in a society with rules, freedom is collective.
Avec des règles, la liberté est collective. Parce que si vous ne respectez pas les règles,
Because if you don't respect the rules, you can't live in society.
si vous êtes libre de parler comme
If you're free to speak as you please, the other is free to answer as he pleases. That would be disorder.
ça sera du désordre. Si vous êtes libre de
If you're
rouler dans
free
la
to
rue et
walk
de
the
passer
streets
le
and
feu
pass
où
traffic
vous voulez,
lights as you
l'autre est
please,
libre de passer aussi et de vous cogner.
the other is free to pass by and
Vous
hit you.
comprenez que si
You understand that if individual freedom takes over, we are in a society of disorder.
voilà pourquoi il y a des règles dans la société.
That's why there are rules in society,
Et là, on parle de liberté collective.
and everyone has to
Donc,
respect the rules.
certains se donnent le droit de parler de leur liberté individuelle.
That's why we're talking about collective freedom. Some people have the right to speak about their individual freedom, but they don't care about others. I think that's also part of incompetence,
Ils s'arrogent les droits que peut-être les États les ont donnés.
because they don't try to understand. They make up the rights given by the states to serve and do everything for themselves, neglecting the freedom of others.
On pense à la liberté d'autrui.
No, freedom is collective. Before we act, we think about the freedom of others, and we shouldn't transcend the freedom of others. So we need to have a reserve. And once we have a reserve, individual freedom doesn't exist. Freedom is collective, and we need to have this culture of collective freedom.
Cherchons donc la connaissance, lisons.
So let's seek knowledge, let's read, let's interrogate history. Don't read the history they wrote in their favor.
Cherchez la connaissance à travers plusieurs sources et vous comprendrez.
Seek knowledge through several sources, and you will understand in history who fought for Africa, how we must fight to continue this struggle of our ancestors.
Et je ne terminerai pas mes propos sans faire.
And I won't finish my words without making a statement about communication.
Parce que comme je le dis, c'est l'arme fatale de l'impérialisme. Et vous jeunes,
Because as I said, it's the fatal weapon of
pour
imperialism.
savoir distinguer le vrai du faux.
And you young people, you must do everything to distinguish the true from the false. We will continue to dismantle the lies of imperialist media that always try to create problems in Africa.
Par leur bouche, ils peuvent vous rendre un roi demain.
Because these media, through their mouths, can make you a king tomorrow. Through their mouths, they can make you leave your position as king and make you a poor slave tomorrow. Pay attention.
Je suivais une émission, malheureusement, il n'y a pas longtemps, burkinabé, où un jeune
I was following a program, unfortunately not long ago, in Burkina Faso, where a young journalist released a sentence that left me a little perplexed.
Il meurt de faim en Corée du Nord. A-t-il pris le soin d'aller en Corée du Nord enquêter pour voir vraiment s'il meurt de faim?
He was talking about North Korea, and the journalist said, but he is starving in North Korea.
Développé que beaucoup de pays européens.
Has he taken care of going to North Korea to investigate to see if he is really starving? Since imperialist media have sold North Korea is more developed than many European countries. And because these media tell us that North Korea is a dictatorship, people are starving, they are poor, they have nothing, we take it here. But North Korea is a nuclear power. How did they do it? Let's pay attention to communication. We must not blindly follow these lying media that only try to divide Africa. It is logical. They fight for the interests of their people. And the interest of their people is that Africa is divided. So, young people of Burkina Faso, young people of Africa, we must unite. We must ban cowardice. We must ban incompetence. We must ban treachery and all the risks in our society. We have the opportunity to speak. We thank God for these opportunities that we have each time to speak, to raise awareness. And I invite you to spread the word, to get to work so that the Africa that we want, self-sufficient in terms of food, is a reality. So that the Africa that we want for harmonious development is a reality. Let me finish because I return to your theme. There is no peace and security without development. The two go hand in hand. If there is no development, there is no security. Because if there is no development, the youth will inevitably find themselves in the vice and there will be no security. If there is no security, there is no development. So the two must go hand in hand. Let's integrate this in our fights so that we can fight and develop. Let's go towards production. Let's produce enough. Let's transform our raw materials so that they are beneficial for our populations and in terms of exportation. I wish you a very good day of reflection on the chosen theme and also on the essential role of youth in this fight. Good luck to all. May God make sure that all those who have made the trip return home in good health and that we can meet again when we wish it by the grace of God. La patrie ou la mort. Thank you.
If you want to break with these imperialist forces, it's simple. We denounce the agreements. Everything starts from there. I think the example of Chad in any case is tangible. They started by denouncing the agreements. Otherwise, if we don't denounce the agreements, just saying that the bases leave, we haven't done anything. Because the problem lies in the colonial agreements, the defenses that have been signed since independence. The most dangerous is not the one you see in the bases. The most dangerous are the military advisors. Military advisors exist in all these countries. They existed in Burkina as well until the end of 2022. Until we took responsibility. And who are these military advisors? They are the ones who are supposed to implement France's policy. Here, they must work to make our armies very weak, so that France can always have the argument. To exist here. Under their influence, they had succeeded. Our sentinels were therefore standing guard with sticks. That's what France wants from our armies. When we reach this stage, we have no choice but to want them to come and settle. But the Burkinabe army managed to get rid of the military advisors. Unfortunately, I think that in 2019, after Operation Otapono, where the French saw that the Burkinabe army still had the capacity to respond to terrorists, they called the chiefs of staff in France. They instructed him to reintegrate the military advisors throughout the structure. Well, they did not agree. But upon returning to the country, the politicians instructed him to accept the military advisors. And that's when the military advisors returned to the Burkinabe army in 2019. With all the consequences we know, the army was on the verge of disappearing in the years 2020, 2021. And indeed, this is the time when many soldiers had to desert because there was no longer any hope. We were in the process of collapsing. That's a bit how they work at the General Staff headquarters. In all army headquarters, in the schools, they are the ones who are supposed to dictate the policy of our army. They are the ones who tell us when to recruit, how to recruit, and what to do with them. They are in the schools to tell us how to train them, and so on. As long as these military advisors are there, you are not independent. Your army will just have the appearance of an army that is there to perform parades, a circus. But when war comes, you will realize that a parade is one thing, but war is another thing. You have to break the agreements. It's the only way to have an independent army and build strength. But many people do not understand this, perhaps. And even with these agreements, France selects from our states officer cadets to go and train them. It's through these same agreements. But in reality, these officers who go to train, for the most part for France, they come to serve the French state in their country. They do not come to serve our countries. They train them so that they come to serve the interests of the French state. I can provide evidence of this. When we revolted, many officers in Burkina who were trained in France were immediately contacted to tell them that it was time to take action because you were trained for this, to serve France's interests. Most of these officers reported back to us. We took note and we continued to monitor. When an officer trained in France returns to his country and unfortunately dies, either by accident or on the battlefield. In France, there is a night of tribute to the fallen in the army, as there is everywhere else. During the night of tribute to the fallen, the name of the officer in question is mentioned, and it is said, died for France. They do not train him to serve his country, they train him to serve their state. And in many African states, there are plenty of such officers.
Why are the Americans threatening Burkina Faso? Why is Trump going to back for the French and going after this guy? Why is the head of the U.S. AFRICOM, the Africa Command, talking about the need to secure Burkina Faso's resources? Because this guy is the boogeyman to European imperialism. He's a young black African Muslim Marxist who is digging out the French deep state in Africa. French colonialism never ended in Africa. The French have a very effective deep state in Africa. Through the banking system, through fake ownership of the natural resources of Africa, they have been able to maintain economic and political and military control over much of their former colonies. Most of the wealth of France is still stolen from Africa. The gold that fills their banks, the uranium that powers their metropolis, all of this is looted from Africa. When they pulled out, they installed a deep state with corrupt rulers that they could pay off in order to get resources for practically nothing. And Traore is ending that system. The French created a banking system for Africa that gives France basic entire control over those nations' economies. The Africans actually have to borrow their own money at interest from France. And the gold mines, the uranium mines, all the natural resources in these countries are treated as French property, and Traore has been making them property of the Burkinabe people. And as leader of the Alliance of Sahel States, his neighbors have been joining in on it. France has been getting driven out of Africa. Some good information on it. Check out the Al Jazeera documentary, The Gold Mafia, from Al Jazeera Investigates, or this Caspian Report video about how the French bank basically owns a bunch of African countries. Now, while Trump probably does not have any direct financial interest in the French Empire, there's what they always called the threat of a good example. The reason they tried to kill Fidel Castro so many times and blockaded Cuba was not just because of the loss of the banana fields and sugarcane fields. It was that if driving imperialism out of a country improves the standard of living in that country, then there's the threat of a good example of other countries replicating. So any country that dared to defy imperialism had to be severely punished. And what Brother Ibrahim has been doing and the Alliance of Sahel States have been doing has been improving the standard of living in their countries by using those resources for those countries, and that is a threat to imperialism worldwide. There's been something like 20 or 21 coup attempts or assassination attempts on him so far, and they're not going to stop. This guy is perhaps the single greatest threat to the imperialist world order right now.
Welcome back once more. Hope you have watched the full clip very well, and kindly, for the first time, if you come across this video, make sure you subscribe to my two channels, share, like, and comment. It's about Ibrahim Traore. Captain Ibrahim Traore is the president of Burkina Faso right now, and he is trending all across the world, and he is the most loved now president across the world in Africa and in his country Burkina Faso. So the last time these people threatening up Ibrahim Traore, they said they wanted to arrest Ibrahim Traore, which were really failed. They sent a warning message to Traore. They have now come out and they have said that they have started planning allies, which is not true, against Ibrahim Traore. They are saying that Ibrahim Traore is using gold in Burkina Faso for his protection in power, but we know that this is not true. And Ibrahim Traore replied by telling Macron that that you have been using us for so long. You have been destabilizing our country. You have been mining our resources, which are not benefiting the people of Burkina Faso. So please, leave our resources alone. And that thing make France Macron, and now he made Donald Trump, so that they planned and started the process of arresting Ibrahim Traore. And we know when USA joined that hand, on 30th, all people marched and protested against Ibrahim Traore, which were made that assassination failed and that arrest failed. So Ibrahim Traore chased away France from his country, and as now when you go to Burkina Faso is not depending from this France. There were this Western country were giving loans to Burkina Faso, but Ibrahim Traore stopped that and make sure that the resources of Burkina Faso belongs to people of Burkina Faso. And now when you go to Burkina Faso, they have a lot of development in Burkina Faso. A lot of people are now praising Burkina Faso. A lot of education sector has been opened up. A lot of schools, a lot of health sector is now working. Colonialism has gone. So these people have sent a warning message that don't dare to come to Burkina Faso, and he has silenced them. They are now silent, and they are using our own black people to fight for black people. Michael Lincoln is a black people, and he is being used by these people to arrest Traore. Please, I'm telling you, Michael, please don't be used to these people. Let them just come out and arrest him. Don't use our own brothers to fight our own brothers. We will not stop supporting Traore from arrest. And these people, they have this culture of lies. They have lied us along, and we know the truth. They have planted a lot of lies against Africa. They say that when now you go to Africa, a lot of insecurity is there, but we know that this is not true. These people are the one who are sponsoring the people of Haiti. What is now happening in Congo is because of them. They are mining a lot of resources in our country so that they can go back to their country with our resources. We will not allow this thing to continue. Our resources and must be protected. We need to protect our resources. We need to use our resources to benefit us. We don't need their help to use our resources so that they gain power. We know that these people are using African leaders. They are using African leaders so that to climb in our continent. You see how things are now planned in Ivory Coast. They want to assassinate Ibrahim Traore through Ivory Coast, and that spy have been arrested and will not continue begging. We have our own resources. We don't need to defend these loans from these Western countries. They are giving us loans by a lot of interest. So Ibrahim Traore is ours. All people across the world now has come out and have found that Ibrahim Traore is a really good captain, and will not allow these people to eliminate him. We will continue to support him. We will continue to protect him until we reclaim our history. As I conclude, we Africa, we are the same color. There's no need of we fighting with other people. We need to protect us. We need to keep protecting us We need to have our own currency. We need to protect and also do research more. And Traore is untouchable as for now because he is our captain, and now have declared him to be the president of Africa. We only have one president, which is now Ibrahim Traore. Is now the president of Africa. Thank you so much for once more. If you are coming across this video, make sure you like, share, and comment. Bye for now.